and welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie, and today our lists feature books written during NaNoWriMo. Jill's got her t-shirt on. November is National Novel Writing Month, where writers attempt to write 50,000 words per month. So we looked up some lists, and these are all going to be books that were written during NaNoWriMo.
Okay. If you are doing NaNoWriMo, you're probably not going to have any time to read. But I'm with you. This is my t-shirt from 2017 when I won. My first book is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. On a cold spring night in 1952, a huge meteorite fell to Earth, obliterating much of the east coast of the United States, including Washington, D.C. The ensuing climate cataclysm will soon render the Earth inhospitable for humanity, as the last such meteorite did for dinosaurs. This looming threat calls for a radically accelerated effort to colonize space and requires a much larger share of humanity to take part in the process. Elma York's experience as a WASP pilot and mathematician earns her a place in the International Aerospace Coalition's attempts to put man on the moon as a calculator. But with so many skilled and experienced women pilots and scientists involved with the program, it doesn't take long before Elma begins to wonder why they can't go into space too. Elma's drive to become the first lady astronaut is so strong that even the most dearly held conventions of society may not stand a chance against her. So, lady astronaut during a cataclysmic event.
My first pick is probably the most popular pick on my list, and it is the only book on my list that I have actually read. Full disclosure. This one is Water for Elephants by Sarah Growing, published in 2007. It won the Book Browse Award for the most popular book that year. So when Jacob Jankowski, recently orphaned and suddenly adrift, jumps onto a passing train, he enters a world of freaks, drifters, and misfits, a second-rate circus struggling to survive during the Great Depression, making one-night stands in town after town. A veterinary student who almost earned his degree, Jacob is put in charge of caring for the circus menagerie. It is there he meets Marlena, the beautiful young star of the Equestrian Act, who is married to August, the charismatic but twisted animal trainer. He also meets Rosie, an elephant who seems untrainable until he discovers a way to reach her. Beautifully written, Water for Elephants is illuminated by a wonderful sense of time and place. It tells the story of a love between two people that overcome incredible odds in a world in which even love is a luxury that few can afford. This author's works have been translated into 43 languages and have sold more than 10 million copies worldwide. Per her website, when I looked her up, she lives in western North Carolina with her husband and 3 sons, along with their dogs, cats, horses, birds, and the world's fussiest goat. This book was also turned into a movie starring Reese Witherspoon, Rob Pattinson, and Christopher Waltz in 2011. So, Water for Elephants. It is a pretty gritty book, but I thought this was a very compelling novel that I read.
Very good. And she had to work on it more than a month.
I would think.
The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. This is the first in a 6-book series, and it's a debut novel by this author, and it was started as a nano project. A groomsman and his last-minute guest are about to discover if a fake date can go the distance into a fun and flirty debut novel. Agreeing to go on a wedding with a guy she gets stuck with in an elevator is something Alexis Monroe wouldn't normally do, but there's something about Drew Nichols that's so hard to resist. On the eve of his ex's wedding festivities, Drew is minus a +1 until a power outage strands him with the perfect candidate for a fake girlfriend. After Alexa and Drew have more fun than they ever thought possible, Drew has to fly back to Los Angeles and his job as a pediatric surgeon, and Alexa heads home to Berkeley, where she's the mayor's chief of staff. Too bad they can't stop thinking about the other. They're just 2 high-powered professionals on a collision course towards a long-distance dating disaster of the century, or closing the gap between what they think they need and what they truly want. So, The Wedding Date. Sounds cute. Yeah.
My second pick is Wool by Hugh Howey, published back in 2013. In a ruined and toxic future, a community exists in a giant silo underground, hundreds of stories deep. There, men and women live in a society full of regulations they believe are meant to protect them. Sheriff Holston, who has unwaveringly upheld the silo's rules for years, unexpectedly breaks the greatest taboo of all. He asks to go outside. His fateful decision unleashes a drastic series of events. An unlikely candidate is appointed to replace him, Juliet, a mechanic with no training in law, whose special knack is fixing machines. Now, Juliet is about to be entrusted with fixing her silo, and she will soon learn just how badly her world is broken. The silo is about to confront what its history has only hinted about, and its inhabitants have never dared to whisper. Uprising. This was a New York Times and US Today bestseller, as well as Kindle Book Review's 2012 Indie Book of the Year. So Wool was pretty much a blockbuster. This author enjoys sailing around the world, and Wool was actually published as his 7th novel. He's also written the Molly Fide saga, a tale of a teenager from the 25th century who is repeatedly told that girls cannot do certain things and then does them anyways. He also has written books on wayfinding, the ancient seafaring art of navigating according to the natural signs, which goes along with his sailing around the world. So, interesting author.
My next choice is an absolutely remarkable thing by Hank Green. This is also the first in a series called The Carls by author Hank Green. This author is the brother of John Green, who wrote The Fault in Our Stars. They used to have a Vlog Brothers thing that I would follow. Author Hank also participated in NaNoWriMo as part of his writing process for this book, which, unlike John's work, is for adults. So... The Carls just appeared. Roaming through New York City at 3 a.m., 23-year-old April May stumbles across a giant sculpture. Delighted by its appearance and craftsmanship, like a 10-foot-tall transformer wearing a suit of samurai armor, April and her best friend Andy make a video with it, which Andy uploads to YouTube. The next day, April wakes up to a viral video and a new life. News quickly spreads that there are Carls in dozens of cities around the world, from Beijing to Buenos Aires, and April, as the first documentarian, finds herself at the center of an intense international media spotlight. Seizing the opportunity to make her mark in the world, April now has to deal with the consequences her new particular brand of fame has on her relationships, her safety, and her own identity. And all eyes are on April to figure out not just what the Carls are, but what they want from us. So,
My third pick is a YA pick, actually. This is Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy, published back in 2014. When 16-year-old Alice is diagnosed with leukemia, she vows to spend her final months righting wrongs. So she convinces her best friend Harvey to help her with a crazy bucket list that's as much about revenge as it is about hope. But just when Alice's scores are settled, she goes into remission, and now she must face the consequences of all that she's said and done. This book is for fans of John Green, like Jill just mentioned, or people who like Rainbow Rowell. This novel is about a girl with cancer who creates a take-no-prisoners bucket list that sets off a war at school, only to discover, now she's in remission, she has to live up to all of this. Julie Murphy is the #1 Times best-selling author of books Dumplin', Puddin', and Ramona Blue. She lives in North Texas with her husband. When she's not writing, she can be found reading, traveling, or hunting down the perfect slice of pizza. So check out Julie Murphy's works. This one is Side Effects May Vary.
And my next one is Evie Drake Takes Over by Linda Holmes. In a sleepy seaside town in Maine, recently widowed Evelyn Evie Drake rarely leaves her large, painfully empty house nearly a year after her husband's death in a car crash. Everyone in town, even her best friend Andy, thinks grief keeps her locked inside, and Evie doesn't correct them. Meanwhile, in New York City, Dean Tenney, former Major League pitcher and Andy's childhood best friend, is wrestling with what miserable athletes living out their worst nightmares call the yips. He can't throw straight anymore, and even worse, he can't figure out why. As the media storm heats up, an invitation from Andy to stay in Maine seems like the perfect chance to hit the reset button on Dean's future. When he moves into an apartment at the back of Evie's house, the two make a deal. Dean won't ask about Evie's late husband, and Evie won't ask Dean about Dean's baseball career. Rules, though, have a funny way of being broken, and what starts as an unexpected friendship soon turns into something more. To move forward, Evie and Dean will have to reckon with their pasts, their friendships they damage, and the secrets they've kept. But in life, in baseball, there's always a chance, up until the last out. So,
Sounds cute, too.
Romantic comedy, it sounds.
I realize I have another circus book. So my fourth pick is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, published back in 2010. The circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it. It is simply there when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tents is an utterly unique experience full of breathtaking amazements. But this one is a little unique. It is only open at night. But behind the scenes, there's a fierce competition underway, a duel between two young magicians, Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood expressly for this purpose. Unbeknownst to them, this is a game in which only one can be left standing, and the circus is but the stage for a remarkable battle of imagination and will. Despite themselves, Celia and Marco tumble headfirst into love, a deep magical love that makes the lights flicker and the room grow warm whenever they so much as brush hands. True love or not, the game must play out, and the fates of everyone involved, from the cast of extraordinary circus performers to the patrons who attend the circus, hang in the balance, suspended as precariously as the daring acrobats flying overhead. Per her website, Erin Morgenstern grew up in Massachusetts and studied theater and studio art at Smith College. She currently lives with her husband and the world's cutest kitten in the middle of the woods in the Berkshires, where she's writing, playing video games, and trying to improve her cocktail mixing skills. So check out The Night Circus. Jill mentioned she read this book.
Yes.
It was described as a feast for the senses and the heart when I looked at this one. So.
She's a very good writer. It's like very atmospheric and
yeah, they said it was almost described as like spell casting.
Yeah.
What her novel.
Funny you have two circuses though.
I know.
Such
common theme during NaNoWriMo.
Probably feels a little like a circus trying to write all those words. My next one is a young adult. There seems to be a lot of young adults that are published
on the list
after being a Nano project. So this is American Panda by Gloria Chow. There are a lot of young adult authors who have participated in National Novel Writing Month, and this is one of them. But this isn't the normal teen in high school kind of thing. At 17, Mai should be in high school, but skipping 4th grade was part of her parents' master plan. Now a freshman at MIT, she's on track to fulfill the rest of this predetermined future, become a doctor, marry a pre-approved Taiwanese Ivy Leaguer, and produce a litter of babies. With everything her parents have sacrificed to make her cushy life a reality, Mai can't bring herself to tell them the truth, that she hates germs, she falls asleep in biology class lectures, and she has a crush on her classmate, Darren Takashi, who is decidedly not Taiwanese. But when Mai reconnects with her brother, Xing, who is estranged from the family for dating the wrong woman, Mai starts to wonder if all the secrets are truly worth it. Can she find a way to be herself, whoever that is, before her web of lies unravels? So, going against her parents.
And my last book is The Beautiful Land by Alan Averill, published in 2013. Takahiro O'Leary has a very special job, working for the Axon Corp as an explorer of parallel timelines, as many and as varied as anyone could imagine. A great gig, until information he brought back gave Axon the means to maximize profits by changing the past, present, and future of this world. If Axon succeeds, Takahiro will lose Samira, the woman he has loved since high school, because her future will cease to exist. A veteran of the Iraq War suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, Samira can barely function in her everyday life, much less deal with Tak's ravings of multiple realities. The only way to save her is for Tak to use the time travel device he borrowed to transport them both to an alternate timeline. But what neither of those two know is that the actual inventor of the device is searching for a timeline called The Beautiful Land, and he intends to destroy every other possible present and future to find it. This sounds really unusual. The switch is thrown and the reality begins to warp horribly, and Tak realizes that to save Samira, he must save the entire world. The author of this book was a longtime Nintendo Power writer and the Nintendo of America employee. He left Nintendo, he was camera shy, and decided he was going to work on things on his own, like writing a book. So,
wow.
The Beautiful Land, kind of an interesting path to get there. But
I can see the video game elements in it,
yeah,
too.
reading the descriptions of this one, that didn't surprise me when I read about this author. So,
wow. Well, we hope that helped you find something to read in this November.
It's kind of an interesting mix of books this week. We thank you for watching. Like, comment, share. We always like to hear from you. And until next time,